You look really pretty.
And therefore I have value?
No. No, that's not what I meant at all. I was just...
I'm messing with you.
This is Michelle Jones, and for years, the MCU gave us a Spider-Man love interest built different from those who came before. But after 3 movies, there's one question the franchise never truly answered. Who is MJ when Peter Parker isn't around? Because for a character specifically designed to be independent, she is caught in a war between storytelling and franchise star power. And that clash has created what I call the Zendaya paradox. To fully understand this paradox, we need to talk about the women of Spider-Man, because MJ's role only makes sense when you understand the lineage she came from. In Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, Kirsten Dunst portrayed Mary Jane Watson, a highly faithful visual adaptation of the classic 1960s comic book. If you grew up with these movies, you know the vibe.
Wow. Great reflexes.
Mary Jane was written as this complicated woman. She had a rough home life, daddy issues, dreams of Broadway, the whole thing. On paper, fascinating. In execution, she got kidnapped. A lot. Like, suspiciously a lot. The woman spent 3 films being dangled off bridges, dropped from cable cars, and held hostage over train tracks. She wasn't a character. She was a hostage negotiation waiting to happen. Now, to be fair to Raimi, that era of superhero films didn't really know what to do with female characters who weren't in danger. The genre ran on rescued women. It was a different time, but the formula was set. The love interest exists to be saved, to motivate the hero, and to look beautiful while doing neither. Then Mark Webb came along and basically said, what if she was just smarter than him? Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy changed everything. Gwen wasn't waiting to be rescued. She was synthesizing antidotes in a lab while the city was under attack. She was making the decision to put herself in the final fight. Nobody dragged her there. She chose to be there. And when she died, it hit different. Because it wasn't the villain targeting a helpless bystander. It was a tragedy born from her own bravery. That's the gold standard. That's the bar. And then came Zendaya.
Hey, where are you going? What are you hiding, Peter?
When Spider-Man Homecoming dropped in 2017, Zendaya's Michelle Jones was introduced as, honestly, kind of a background character. She was this brilliantly dry, observant weirdo who happened to notice things everyone else missed, and the audience loved her for it. Which was great, actually. But here's where the paradox subtly begins to take shape within this comparative framework. Gwen Stacy had her own story. She had career goals, scientific expertise, a father with a whole separate arc. She was a full person who happened to fall in love with Spider-Man. MJ, for all her wit and charm, when you strip away the Peter scenes, what's left? We get a hint. One throwaway line about preferring Jones over Watson, suggesting family drama, and that's it.
Don't say anything without a lawyer!
The rest of her personality is almost entirely reactive to Peter's existence. She deduces his secret identity in Far From Home, which was cool, but she only figures it out because she's already obsessing over him. Her arc is fundamentally about him. So we have a character who was designed to subvert the damsel trope, who's intelligent and independent, but whose entire purpose in the story is still the guy, just from a slightly different angle. And the franchise was about to make this problem exponentially worse.
You know, I know a couple of magic words myself, starting with the word please.
Okay, December 2021, Spider-Man: No Way Home. I don't need to recap the whole movie. You've seen it. You cried. It's fine. We all did. But I want you to focus on one specific moment that I think gets glossed over in the broader conversation. Before Doctor Strange casts the final spell, MJ and Ned explicitly demanded that Peter find them and explain everything so they can consent to resuming their relationship with him. In a tearful farewell, Peter promises to do so. I'll come find you. MJ immediately asserts her autonomy. You better. If you don't, I'm just going to figure it out. I've done it before, I can do it again. That's not a small moment. That's her explicitly demanding the right to choose her own future. She knows the risks. She's already gotten hit in the head during a literal supervillain fight, and Peter promises as he looks her in the eyes.
I'll make you remember me.
Then, in the epilogue, he goes to find her. He sees the scar on her forehead from the battle, and quietly, without a word to her, without honoring his promise, he leaves, smiled at the audience, and stepped out into the snow looking lonely and brave. And okay, yes, selfless, noble, the stuff of superhero legend. And the audience accepted it, because sacrifices are supposed to hurt. Now, this is where the Zendaya paradox begins. No Way Home built an entire emotional ending around Peter and MJ's separation, which means that distance has to matter. If Spider-Man, Brand New Day, or subsequent sequels immediately puts Peter and MJ back together, the sacrifice from No Way Home gets weaker. The ending gets weaker. The audience's grief starts to feel temporary, but the franchise still has Zendaya, and that's the problem. The story needs Peter and MJ apart. The franchise has every reason to bring them back together.
My name is Peter Parker, and I would like a coffee, please.
So here's where it gets fascinating. No Way Home ended with incredible reviews, $1.9 billion at the box office, and the two studios that co-own Spider-Man have to figure out what happens next.
Listen well, brother. I'm listening.
Now, Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige's camp, looked at that ending and saw an opportunity. Peter Parker alone, broke, scrappy, building his own gear in a tiny apartment? That's the character getting back to basics. Team him up with the Punisher. Street-level crime. Gritty New York energy. Let Peter Parker finally become the Spider-Man the comics always wanted him to be. And Sony, Tom Rothman's camp, looks at that same ending and goes, yes, cool, but also Zendaya. Because here's the thing most people ignore when they analyze superhero movies. This isn't just about what makes narrative sense. This is a multi-hundred-million-dollar investment in a franchise whose marketing is inseparable from the fact that Tom Holland and Zendaya are one of the most publicly beloved celebrity couples on the entire planet. Tom Daya. That's the nickname the internet gave them. And whether you think celebrity relationship branding is romantic or terrifying, probably a little of both, the studio absolutely cannot pretend it doesn't exist. Every interview, every red carpet, every paparazzi photo is free marketing. Their chemistry isn't just on screen, it is the screen now. Replacing Zendaya with a new love interest isn't just a creative decision. It's burning down a billion-dollar marketing machine. So the studios end up in a standoff. And like all great standoffs, the resolution is a compromise that doesn't fully satisfy either side. Now, and this is the franchise quietly admitting it knows it has a problem. We are getting Sadie Sink. Her role in Brand New Day is completely undisclosed. But here's what we do know. She's being positioned as a significant female presence in a film where Zendaya's screen time is reportedly reduced. That's not a coincidence. That's the franchise doing exactly what it needs to do, creating narrative breathing room, a new character, a new dynamic, a fresh relationship that could exist and develop without the weight of the memory wipe. It's the franchise quietly acknowledging that you cannot sustain an entire movie on the tension of man watches ex-girlfriend who doesn't know him live her life. At some point, Peter Parker has to move on. And maybe that's the beginning of the real Brand New Day. Not just a title, an actual new chapter. Here's where I land on all of this. The Zendaya paradox isn't a problem with Zendaya. Let's be very clear about that. She's extraordinary. The scenes she and Holland share have a lived-in, real emotional weight that you genuinely cannot fake. The paradox is structural. It's the gap between what the story needs and what the business demands. And that gap is being managed, sometimes brilliantly, sometimes precariously, by writers and directors who are trying to honor both masters at once. The resolution, if there is one, has to come from giving MJ what she was never properly given in the first place. A full, independent story, not defined by Peter's love for her, not defined by what she represents to his emotional state. A story where she makes the defining choice, where the sacrifice of No Way Home lands on her with full weight, because she finally knows the truth, and where she gets to decide what that means. Give her that, and you resolve the paradox. Not by removing her from the franchise, by finally, genuinely completing her arc. Because right now, the most powerful version of MJ that this franchise has given us is a woman who doesn't even know she's in the story. And that's not good enough. Spider-Man, Brand New Day drops July 31st, 2026. And look, I'm going to be in that theater. You're going to be in that theater. Because regardless of the paradox, regardless of the compromise, this is still Spider-Man, and we still care. And the fact that we care enough to be frustrated is the whole point. The franchise matters. The characters matter. And sometimes, the most interesting thing about a superhero movie isn't what happens on screen. It's the collision of real human ambition, real human relationships, and billions of real dollars that shapes every single frame before you even buy your ticket. If you want more Spider-Man content, subscribe and drop a comment. Do you think Peter should tell MJ the truth in this film? Or does she need to figure it out herself? I'm going with, she finds out herself, because that's what her character has always deserved. See you in the next one.